Clair Shores City Council meeting to order. Mary, please call the roll.
Mayor Walby.
Here.
Councilmember Asia.
Here.
Councilmember Karen.
Here.
Councilmember Frederick.
Present.
Councilmember Rubino.
Here.
Councilmember Rusi.
Present.
Councilmember Vitale.
Here.
A quorum present.
Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 is proclamations and presentations, and we do have a presentation. It's actually from the Ian from the Detroit Institute of Arts is going to kind of do a presentation regarding the Inside Out program. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for giving me some time on the agenda tonight.
Shirley.
My name's Ian Rapnicki. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Macomb County at the DIA. And I'm here to talk to you about the ways that the DIA engages with Macomb County residents and specifically St. Clair Shores. Next slide. Sorry, we got a little system here. Before I get started, I thought I'd take a moment to highlight some of the treasures in our collection. We have a collection of over 65,000 objects spanning all over the globe from antiquity to the present day. And here's just a small selection. In the top left, there's a painting by Peter Bruegel the Elder. It's a Netherlandish painting. It's one of only 2 that exist in an American museum, so it's a really rare, special masterpiece. There's a free exhibition about it right now. The top center is a small image of a giant work by Diego Rivera. It's the Detroit Industry Murals. And from personal experience, it's just really exciting to see that in person and watch the way people engage with it, because it's an image of working class people. And it's really special to see images of familiar faces and familiar professions in the middle of an art museum. So it's really empowering to people. Top right, another familiar face, Vincent van Gogh. It's a self-portrait that the DIA purchased in the 1920s. We were the first museum to collect a Vincent van Gogh painting. So we're lucky to have one of between 30 and 40 self-portraits that he made in his short career. And it's right down the street in Detroit. So it's a real special treasure. And there's going to be a show of over 60 Van Goghs coming up this summer at the museum, too. In green, you might recognize that face, too, Kermit the Frog. This is on view right now. It's actually a 1969 prototype that Jim Henson made for the character, and he's very fragile, so he doesn't come out too often, but he's out till the end of March, so come see him while you can. It's like visiting a celebrity. Heart flutters a little bit when you're in front of him. And then the last 2 demonstrate some of the range of our collection from this blue, it's a glazed brick that comes from the Ishtar Gate entering the ancient city of Babylon, so that's over 2,500 years old. But the one next to it is from our contemporary collection, so old to new and all over the globe. We've got a little bit of almost everything. But something exciting that's coming to you this summer is our Inside Out program. Inside Out is a program where we bring high-quality framed reproductions of our masterpieces out to these unexpected and exciting places throughout Metro Detroit. We've brought it to over 150 Tri-County communities, and we're coming to 25 more this summer, including St. Clair Shores. I do want to thank Joe Frezard from the Cool City Committee, Henry Bowman from the Parks. We're helping bring this together. We're going to have a pretty good selection of images coming to different parks. Let me see. We've got Bryce Park, Wabi Park, Blossom Heath Park, Champaign Park. We'll be at the library, the Civic Arena, and 4 breweries. I thought this was an interesting idea that Joe brought to me, the idea of having the opportunity to do crawls between the breweries, but people might engage with the art a little different than they might in a museum. That's part of what makes Inside Out special, is the rules are different, and you don't have to, be as cautious around these works of art. They get beat up, and they're meant to.
Well, the breweries are quite active here in the shore, so I mean, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, 4 breweries. We're going to have an image at each of them.
Fantastic.
Hopefully encourage people to bounce around and visit the breweries, visit the artwork, have some interesting conversations along the way. And so Inside Out is a part of a broader spectrum of programming that we offer at the museum. There's 4 main areas that we've focused on since 2012. In 2012, Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County voters approved a millage that laid out guidelines for us. There's actually a different arts authorities that are put together after the millage in each county, and they come up with different expectations out of us. And these are the four main pillars of those agreements that the counties requested of us, and that we're audited every year on, and that's all made public to make sure we're doing what we said we would. But we offer free general admission, free student programs, free field trips, and free transportation, senior programs, which also comes with transportation, and then community partnerships such as Inside Out, but that's not the only one. So, free general admission. As Macomb County residents, you get free general admission every single day of the year that we're open to the public, unlimited. As long as we're open, come on down and visit. We've welcomed more than 2 million Tri-County residents since 2012. All right. Our education programs are pretty spectacular. We're a leader in education. We do free field trips, free transportation, and free access to tens of thousands of students throughout Metro Detroit. We really believe that these trips spark imagination, encourage discovery, encourage students to step outside of what's familiar to them and see culture and history that you can't find in books or on TV or on the internet. And the free bus transportation that we offer is a game changer for school districts that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford transportation for a field trip. It gets really expensive. And so since 2012, we welcomed more than 440,000 students. In Macomb, last year alone, we welcomed 17,000 students from 155 different schools to the museum. Okay, education. For educators, we don't just work with students, we also partner with educators. We do things like first looks, and educators get sneak peeks at upcoming exhibitions or new gallery spaces. We also do professional development workshops. We coach in visual thinking strategies. And visual thinking strategies is a method for facilitating inquiry-based conversations around art, and these conversations have been proven to increase critical thinking and listening skills. And those are skills that you can use outside of a museum or outside of an art class. So those workshops are really well received. Just last year, 601 Macomb County teachers took advantage of our professional development resources. And our third pillar is Thursdays at the Museum. Thursdays at the Museum is a weekly program offered to adults 55 and older. Every week we have a different kind of program. Sometimes it's a lecture, a tour of the galleries, art making workshops, musical performances, artist demonstrations, and every week there's always a coffee and cookie reception at the end for people to gather and socialize. The program provides free transportation. If you have a group coming of 25 or more, the bus to and from is free, and we also encourage individuals to pop in, and we seem to be getting an uptick in that. Individuals or small couples or small groups that can transport themselves are welcome to drop in any Thursday to take advantage of that. Last year, we welcomed over 2,000 seniors from 68 different groups in Macomb County to our Thursday programming. And we've also sent out lecturers or volunteers who talk on different subjects called Behind the Scene. We sent out 23 Behind the Scene talks in Macomb last year. So if you can't come to the museum brings projection material and expertise and actually talks on different subjects at senior centers or libraries. The fourth pillar I already kind of touched on is community partnerships. That includes Inside Out, but it also includes something called PIPA, which stands for Partners in Public Art. And PIPA is a program where we collaborate with communities on public art projects that will strengthen the local sense of community and create artworks that will be around for years to come. Here you see a couple recently unveiled murals. The one on the left is in Warren, the one on the right is in Romeo, and there's more of these coming throughout the Tri-County area. Every year we're trying to do a couple in each county. A couple other fun facts involving community partnerships. Nearly 3,500 residents participated in our drop-in art-making opportunities at different Macomb County fairs and festivals last year. And also about 7,000 Macomb residents experienced our DIA Away mobile experience last year. So we're out there we're in there, we're out there, we're all around, and that's the end of my presentation.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments? That's great. Mr. Vitale?
I'm just going to make a comment here. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Repnicki.
Okay, Mr. Repnicki. This is essentially a commercial for the millage.
Understand the perception of that. We do have a current service agreements that we're honoring for the next couple of years, so I'm here to highlight the current existing services that we're required to offer.
I understand that, but we have with us, yes, include me or my organization or company as a supporter of yes on the millage, so if we want to, I guess, put a sign on our house or something, it's all here.
Did he give us that?
No, I did.
Actually,
That came from Councilman.
that came from Councilman Asha.
Oh, okay,
It did
well
not
then
came
my
from him.
apologies then.
Did not come from
Scared
him.
me. I
Thought that came from here.
didn't need to include that.
Well, Chris, you weren't here.
It did not.
Primarily, my issue with it is you've chosen put, or your organization has chosen to put this on a Democrat primary ballot. That's pretty well loading the deck. And as I recall, this millage was brought about to help save the collection when Detroit was going through bankruptcy. And now what I'm seeing is yet another millage that's going to continue on in perpetuity. I don't like that. I'm going to be honest with you. You do a lot of great things. I love the arts, the museum, and everything like that, but I don't know your budget. Most people don't know your budget. I don't know that the money's being spent wisely. I mean, sure, there's things, great things that are going on, but I don't know that maybe those things shouldn't be inside the budget without the millage. So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it civil.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. But I've got big problems with what particular election cycle this happened to come up on.
Yeah, I appreciate your point there. Those decisions are
Yeah,
way
yeah.
beyond me.
Sure.
I'm involved in the public programming, so I coordinate the Inside Out, and I do the senior programming. And for 5 years, I did the school tours, honestly. So that's my area of expertise. I'd love to talk to you more about the art.
Maybe carry it back to your
Yeah,
superiors.
yeah, my
that,
card's in that folder too,
there was some
so any
pushback.
questions, I can be a liaison and point you in a direction of somebody who can answer your questions better than I could about that stuff.
Ian, when can we see them? Because I'm excited to see them back in the shore. So when do we see them? When will we be out in the parks? When will we be at the breweries?
They'll
Do
be-
you have a timing on it?
Within the next few months, we're gonna be out in the summer, they should be out for about 4 months, coming down in November, so I think we're shooting for May installation.
Okay.
Everything's ramping up once we get some papers signed, and everything approved. We're gonna send the order off to the framer and the printer, get everything done up. That takes some time, and then we're gonna come out and spread them all over.
Sounds good. We appreciate it. Again, I'm excited to have the program back in St. Clair Shores. It's good for the community, so we appreciate that. So thank you very much for coming and providing that presentation.
Thanks for your time.
All right, Ian, take care.
You too.
Item 3, audience participation on the agenda items, 2 minutes.
We have one speaker this evening, Mayor, Jim Goodfellow, resident of St. Clair Shores, on agenda item 5.
Evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jim Goodfellow, St. Clair Shores resident. This is in regards for the purchase of Life Pack 15 monitor slash defib for the fire department. I think Chief Piper has done a good job and looked into his Scottish thriftiness in getting a discount. And I hope the council will approve this. And I understand that he may want to try and do it on an annual basis to update so that nothing's getting too old, like ourselves. And that way the residents will be very, very safe. And if I may, for 1 minute, do a little sidebar, Mr. Mayor, I would like to thank Mr. Koppler for allowing me to speak to him this morning for 2 minutes, but he extended it for 3 more minutes regarding the traffic light there at Lakeland and Jefferson, which is, I think the county needs to replace it because it's been off and on for the last couple of months.
Okay.
And it's not just off and on for an hour or two, sometimes it's a couple of days. So I want to thank you for your ear this morning, Mr. Copper, for the 3 extra minutes you didn't charge me for. Thank you and have a good evening.
You too, thank you. Item 4, which is the stormwater apportionment study. Mr. Koppler.
So as Mayor and Council are aware, we are going through looking right now at how ultimately we're going to be paying for all these stormwater improvements and operations that are going on based upon the lawsuit that was filed, Patrick versus St. Clair Shores. Depending, either way that we go with that, whether we do a Chapter 20 drain or if we look at reinstituting an ordinance for stormwater user fees, we're going to have to do what is called a stormwater apportionment study. And this was originally done back in, I think, the early 1990s. And this particular study that is being presented by HRC would redo the calculations and determine what the individual, based upon the different zoning classifications, what an individual parcel within those classifications would need to be charged to help pay for the operations and improvements as part of the plan. And it really breaks down into 2 different areas with that. First is kind of a general look at all the different parcels and the drainage patterns within the city, and it would come up with that preliminary calculation. And they're thinking that's probably going to take about 90 days and cost about $46,000. The second phase is where they start applying those calculations to the individual parcels within the city. And I believe you see in there that we have upwards of 25,000 different parcels that they're going to be looking at. And so that's going to be the more extensive cost-wise and also time-wise to get completed. And they're estimating that's going to take about 6 months and upwards of $140,000 to complete. There are a number of different, unknowns within this. And so the way that we're going about it is trying to cap it at a not-to-exceed cost of $206,000. So it's the 46 plus the, 46 plus 160. And if it comes in a lot less than that, then we're going to be obviously saving a few dollars on this. But they calculated this based upon a recent project where they worked with the city of Birmingham. And the city of Birmingham, like St. Clair Shores, went through a lawsuit and ultimately redid their user fee for their stormwater operations. And it cost the city of Birmingham a little over $100,000. They're about half of the number of parcels that we have. So that's kind of where ultimately the estimate came from, is upscaling the number of parcels that they had to fit the number of parcels that we have.
Questions? Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. Well, first off, I was going to ask about the basis for this estimate, because we weren't provided the information about it being based on Birmingham times 2, I guess. We have a copy of the proposed scope of work and the proposed not to exceed final estimate of the amount of cost, but we don't have the proportionate time, how those hours will be allocated, who's going to be doing the work from the firm. This is a little bit different type of work than what we usually utilize HRC for. Do we know who in that firm will be doing the work and on what portions of the projects?
So when you say who individually, specifically individually, or?
Correct.
Or
Where are the
type?
categories of personnel that will be utilized and what their
rate?
hourly rate would be to arrive at this estimate?
Gotcha. I do not have the specifics on that, but I can tell you that the early part, so the preliminary part, the part A of this study, is going to be primarily GIS-based. So it's going to be a lot of CAD operation and probably the lower costing of that. I can get all that
Yeah,
for you,
I think that they have that. They were able, if they've done this work before, and then they were able to create an estimated scope of work and cost, they have that that information, I would appreciate
Okay.
having it for
Yeah.
our behalf.
Yeah, and then the second, just to let you know, the second portion where they start applying those calculations are going to be at the higher level. So those are actually going to be at least one of the principals. And Jesse Vandekreek has been kind of the primary on this for us. So he's going to have a portion of that, as well as some of, I can't think of the gentleman's name now that is going to be working with us on this. I just totally lost his name. But I can get all that. in
Okay,
terms of
that
what
would
the
be, I
breakdown.
think, helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Karen.
Thank you. Actually, just a little more background on this for the residents, because I think I was having a conversation with former Mayor Heisen a few weeks ago that this was coming up, and he had not heard of it before, and it kind of like dawned on me of, yeah, we really haven't talked about this publicly in terms of what happened with this lawsuit. So, and Bob, feel free to correct me on anything on this, but basically, so this lawsuit was brought against us a few years back that basically said that our flat rate fee for storm sewer maintenance that's been on water bills was not allowable. And that was a circuit court decision that came in. I believe we're still working through Court of Appeals, but this is basically to get ahead of that not being successful. That basically we needed to convert to a system that was more of a by area type assessment by parcel rather than a, by house, one size fits all charge that we had. And that's basically why we have to go ahead with the study to go back and redetermine, again, as HRC refers into as a residential equivalent unit, that would basically be what would be on that parcel assigned, and then there would be a charge by each of those units, and that's what we eventually would be charging. So, I would assume in this, like if someone has a larger property, larger frontage, they're more than likely to pay a bit more. If they have a smaller property, smaller frontage towards the storm sewer, they're gonna be paying less. When we get to the end of figuring out what this is,
Right.
correct? Okay.
And where it becomes even a little bit more complicated is on the commercial industrial properties.
Right.
Because that calculation is going to be a little bit more difficult to do.
Yeah, and I think, I have to go back and look, but when we redid the storm sewer ordinance for commercial properties 6 years back, I think I don't know if we had language in there that dealt with some of that, because some of them were charged by parcel size and what they had in terms of runoff, where we wanted them to be doing more containment on site versus going to the storm sewer during big events. And so I don't know if we've already covered some of that in the past, because that was quite a lengthy ordinance that we went through back then.
And
When
let
we
me just
updated
add
that.
another piece of all this, which is, I think, also, again, another basis for what the outcome of the particular lawsuit was, is that this will develop the ability for people to not only appeal their charge for it, but also give them a way through taking different types of measures on their property to reduce what their charge towards that stormwater fee will be.
Okay, and so that would be listed out as a part of the study as well in terms of, I imagine part of that is if they have a rain garden that is a certain size that can show, based on size, it can absorb so many gallons of water during
Yep.
a 1 inch rain or something, that could be taken into account for
Yep.
what would be against their residential equivalent unit for their
Correct.
property.
And
right?
that's actually part F of that, of the overall study, which is actually in the second part, which is develop procedures for property owners to appeal their assignments, but also provide those owners the ability to get credits for those measures so that they can, like you said, a rain garden, or even a rain barrel,
Right.
or any other type of approved recommendation that we come up with that will allow for that credit to be issued.
Okay. And, in our prior discussions with HRC, and then, like I said, like Birmingham, they went through and did this with Birmingham, and I think with Ann Arbor as well, the similar methodology, correct? In
Yeah,
terms
so-
of trying to determine a residential equivalent unit by parcel, that could then, the charge could be added back.
Yeah, Ann Arbor is kind of the pinnacle for this, and that dates back a number of years when they actually instituted theirs. Birmingham more recently is a take on Ann Arbor's, not completely like Ann Arbor's, because they go a number of steps beyond, I think, what Birmingham does.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rubino?
Can you go over how that was priced once? One more time.
Yeah, so when we look at what they did for Birmingham, and I can't remember, but it works out that the number of parcels that Birmingham has is about half of the number of parcels that we have. And their number was in a little over 100,000. I want to say it was like 110,000 is what the cost was to do the same study for the city of Birmingham. And so in looking at the number of hours associated with putting theirs together in those two different phases, the first phase being more GIS oriented and getting everything in and doing calculations based upon the way that the drainage would be flowing off the properties. In that, it was about half of what they're estimating our time, which is $46,000. The second part, which is actually the more difficult, because I think they could calculate fairly easily the number of hours to get all those parcels into the system and get that done. But it's unknown in their minds, starting to then apply that calculation individually to specific properties. And that's where it becomes a little bit more difficult, because, you're going to be able, an average city lot would be easy. And if we have, 20% of our lots are an average city lot, those are going to be very similar. But looking at them at, the exceptions, which are going to be in the commercial, industrial areas mostly. And then we do have some different lots here that, maybe a little bit longer,
Yeah.
a little bit. So that's the unknown piece, and that's where they look at it and say, we know what it was for the city of Birmingham, but it's kind of hard to figure out that same issue in the city of St. Clair Shores. And so that's where you get I think, a little bit more of a cost for the number of parcels.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But I think, let me say that this is something that, we're going to have regular meetings once this starts, so we can start seeing what they're doing and keep a close watch on them to get a handle on that budget.
Very good.
Mr. Vitale?
My question would have to do with the determination of rates itself once we implement. Perhaps contrary to what Councilman Karen said, it seems logical to me that the greater amount of runoff would be a small property with a lot of pavement and improved surface versus a large property with the same amount. So actually, the larger properties putting less into the system, would they be paying less than the small lot with the hard surfaces?
Well, that's where, again, it's all going to depend upon the specifics of that lot. If you have a very large lot that has a lot of permeable surface, you'd be correct.
Okay.
But if it's a large lot with impermeable surfaces, then there's going to be a lot more than a smaller lot,
And that seems logical to me. How much into detail are we going to take this? And I'll use an example. I'll say a 1,500 square foot house on a 5,000 square foot lot that has 500 square feet of garage. So 2,000 square feet is covered. One house, the next house is identical, but that person has paved an additional parking space, 10 by 20. So now they've covered 2,200 square feet. Are they going to see a difference in their stormwater fee with the 200 square feet of difference between the house? Because if we calculate it down to that level, and that's going to change constantly. There are going to be people that take parking out, put parking in. How on earth are we going to track this?
Well, I think.
I mean, this really seems unmanageable.
Well, I think well, you maybe can answer better, but I'm just using SMSDA and apportionment studies. When you do the apportionment study, it goes in for a time frame, and that's what's used till they come back and do another apportionment study, which, again, it's using the SMSD and how we apportionment the water, and it goes through the Chapaton and the Rio Vista and what's apportioned to East Point and St. Clair Shores, and until you do another apportionment, those numbers hold.
Yeah,
But then there's an appeal process to that.
Pardon me?
Yeah, and that's where I think we start getting into,
comment on that.
which methodology ultimately we're going to be following. Are we going to be following a Chapter 20, or are we going to be doing, a modification of what we have had in the past that was challenged? Each of those has a different type of time horizon for review. So I think that's a conversation we have at the point we talk about, which avenue we go down. But this is going to afford us the ability, once we make that decision, to know specifically, what the ramification is going to be for each one of those.
Okay.
And, in talking through this with the engineers and also the attorney, Mr. Claney, that's kind of spearheading this for us, people have to have the ability, if conditions on their property change, they have to have the ability to come in and either appeal or get credit for it. So that is something that's going to be kind of baked into all this, that we have to provide the ability to change, maybe not from year to year, maybe it's a period of 3 years, or maybe it's a period of 5 years. But we do have to provide that avenue for people to take.
Well, I can see a lot of people coming in to get their cost reduced. I probably wouldn't see a lot of people coming in to get their cost increased when they pave the parking space or something like that. So this is, I'm dreading this. But it's not something that we, just so residents understand, it isn't something that we cooked up that we wanted to do. I don't think anybody wanted this. But
Well,
it's something we're being forced to do.
And this firm has gone around and sued a number of communities, and again, we need the stormwater, right? More than ever today, as we have issues with the lake, and we have more than 40 pumps out there. So we need to maintain those, and we need the revenue. Mr. Erie, you had a comment?
I was just going to say, Mr. Mayor, that my understanding is that certainly if somebody puts some pavers to outline their walk coming from their door, that theoretically would change the amount of permeable space. But what's going to happen is, right now, parcels, we basically have one classification. If you're a parcel and if you're in the city, there's going to be multiple classifications, and they will be certainly site-specific, but they will not be so site-specific that if somebody puts in as I said, a line of pavers, that everything changes. So there will be categories.
So it'll be like a tax bracket. You're at 2,500 to 3,000 square feet of impervious surface.
Right, something along those lines.
And if I could, when you look at what the city of Ann Arbor has been doing, they've gone, like I said, many steps beyond what most cities have done. They do periodic infrared scans of their city. So they know where there is permeable and impermeable surfaces, and they can calculate it down almost to the level that you're talking about.
But we're not going there at this point.
No.
Mr. Karen?
Yeah, I guess on the point that Councilman Vitale had made, maybe it's somewhere with the BSNA software where we store all the property information, we got all the detail, square footage and everything, that the same data, whatever, when we figure out what the residential equivalent unit per parcel is, it can be stored there. It's available as a public record, then anyone looking to buy, they'll know, and that's just something someone comes in to try to appeal, or they realize to make a change, then that gets updated within the software, and that's basically where the data gets stored. Maybe that's an option to be looked at.
Sure.
In that, so that way it's available to
the public.
owners, that they'll know exactly what they are. So, and also one additional thing in terms of, so it said 90 days for this to go through, because one of the things too, my conversation with Mayor Heisen was telling him, like, well, look at your water bill, you'll see we're not charging that charge anymore for the storm sewer that we've had, which that went back in place early 90s in that, because that's actually why I brought up the conversation with him, because he was around then. So we're not charging for that for the foreseeable future until we get this in place. And so, as the mayor said, with all the other expenses, temporary pumps, trying to get a new pump station in place maybe this summer for the lakefront flooding that is going on, we do not have funds coming in to cover those right now. And that's why we have to go ahead to try to figure this out. And like Councilman Vitale, this is not something we wanted. This is a lawsuit that we lost, and being forced to go this route to figure out how we're going to keep funding this service for the city.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Karen. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 7-0. Thank you. Bids, contracts, purchase orders. Request to purchase Life Pack 15 monitor defibs for the fire department with trade-in of Life Pack 12. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kurt Grover. I'm the EMS coordinator for the fire department. Happy to represent them. As you can see in your packet, we're here to request a purchase of a Life Pack 15 monitor. This is the same monitor that our fleet consists of, the same monitor we train on, and the same one that we use on all of our emergencies. So our personnel are very used to working with them. If you have any other questions, I came here tonight to answer anything.
Questions? Mr. Rubino.
So Stryker is the only place we can purchase it.
So Physio Control has a sole source letter in there, and for a new monitor, they're the only person that we can purchase it from.
Move to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Rubino, supported by Ms. Rusi. Question by Mr. Frederick.
So I see we're turning in some of the old ones.
Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, I mean, are they non-functional at this point, or are they just can't get parts for them, or?
So I actually have a letter in there that, so Life Pack 12, at a certain age, they already stopped making that monitor. And as of February, I think it's February of this year, they're gonna stop making accessories. So they're phasing that out. And as of now, we can get $3,000 for that monitor. If we did wait, we might not get that $3,000 because
Okay,
they're just gonna be like, that monitor's.
all right. And I'm just thinking from the standpoint of, how many do we currently have altogether?
We currently have 8 Life Pack 15 monitors, which is a newer model, but a large part of the 7 of those 8 were purchased in 2013. And then we have 2 of these Life Pack 12s. So we're phasing out some of our Life Pack 12s, and our long-term plan is to continue to buy one per year, so we don't have to purchase all in one fiscal year.
And I guess based on, what our needs are as a city, do we have them in the right places? Is there some spots that we could use some more?
We do have them in the right places. I believe we have the right amount for what we need at this time for these Life Pack monitors. These are a little bit more advanced because our crews can do a lot of vital signs off them. They can transmit 12 leads, and then they can defibrillate in a cardiac arrest. If the city did need more monitors, that would be more of like an automatic external defibrillator, what you're used to seeing on the wall, so that's an
Right.
AED.
Right.
And that's more in the lines of like $2,000, just because
Okay.
it's simpler and it's meant to do one thing only.
All right, thanks.
No problem. Anybody else, or?
Great, so we have a motion by Mr. Rubino, supported by Ms. Rusi, to award the Life Pack 15 monitor to Stryker for $231,406.30, which includes the discount, $3,000. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Appreciate it. The second quarter council report and budget matters will come back at, I think, the 2/18 meeting. Right, Laura, are they coming? Okay, thank you. Item 7 is consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Support. Moved by Mr. Karen, supported by Mr. Frederick. A question by Mr.
I would like to
Vitale.
pull item 7J.
7J. Everything but 7J, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. 7J, Mr. Vitale, of course, is the adoption of the Great Lakes Bottom Lines Conveyance Resolution that was brought to us actually over almost to the weekend, and we put it on this morning regarding the 8.5-mile drainage district and what's going on there with Chapaton. But yes, sir, your questions on that, or you
Well,
want an overview?
I brought it out basically just to kind of make the public aware of what's going on. This is, if I'm correct in the email that I read, another step in the process towards getting the permits for the Chapaton project.
That is correct, and at Macomb County Public Works, belief was that as long as the 8.5-mile made that resolution, which they did, it was good enough for the application, but they were told back by AGL that St. Clair Shores needed to make that resolution. So they needed to get that into their application before the next council meeting. Before the next council meeting, that's why I had to add it to this one. But yes, it is part of that whole Chapaton project that obviously many individuals have seen in the newspaper, which is the trying to add the capacity there, which is in essence going to double Chapaton. And The goal is to limit 75% of what ends up dumping from Chapaton into the lake. And again, as I said, take 75% of the dumps out of there, so doubling the capacity, and this is part of that.
And my reason for pulling it was just to make residents aware that we as a city are doing everything we can to help keep that project moving forward.
And I think that's a good point. Not only we are trying here, but as I think everybody knows, we're working with them on Blossom Heath to assist in the boat launch and provide that for East Point and Roseville, because our goal is to work with them and to do as best we can to eliminate the CSOs that come out of Chapaton. And this project would take away, as I already said, I think twice, but 75%. So it's important to St. Clair Shores. It's really important to anybody who enjoys the water and lives by the water. So it's important in Macomb County. So yeah, we'll try it.
That's all I had.
Move to approve.
Moved by Mr. Frederick. Supported by Mr. Karen to adopt the bottom line conveyance resolution. Do you have a pen up, or you? Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Sorry, you gave your pen, didn't it? Item 7 is, we did. Item 8 is updates and follow-ups from prior meetings. Mr. Koppler.
So we actually have two different ones. I'm just going to go over the one from the last meeting. I believe we did provide everything from the council workshop that was on January 11th.
Yes.
So if there's anything specifically we left out on that, let me know, and we can get that caught up. But going real quick from the last meeting's items, there was a question about how long is the information stored on the snowplow tracking software, and Mr. Babcock replied back after searching that it was going to be for a year. Second item, talking about the, from Councilmember Rubino, about taking screenshots so we can show the progress over time. I know staff is working on that. Hopefully we'll have maybe a little bit more information on a page that, people will be able to click right to and take care of that. Kind of a follow-up, Councilmember Rusi had talked about doing a little bit more communication both with council and residents. We are looking at a number of different things to do with it. One of the ones that we have taken, and we're still working out some of the bugs, but we've put on the front page of the website a Twitter feed from the city manager's office. And we are also going to be hooking that up to our Facebook. So we'll be able actually to put out there, as we get that information, right out to a lot of different things, what's going on.
Who's going to be managing the Twitter account?
Well, that's, 3 people are going to be behind that. Myself, of course, the assistant city manager, Bill Gamble, and then the administrative assistant, Natalie. Okay,
thank you.
Just the 3 of us. Most likely during snow events, I'll be doing that, so forgive me if I misspell something. Right? But I think that'll be a good way to get more information out and do it out in a lot quicker than what we normally would do. Councilmember Karen asked that the council boards and commission subcommittee add to the next agenda, which we did. I believe that was taken care of already. Then the big one, which is in process, is having the city attorney and have staff, a law clerk staff, work on that. I know our city attorney is putting together what that cost is going to be so we can take a look at that. And we should be receiving that fairly shortly so we can talk a little more about that type of staffing. And lastly, the request to do a performance report on the other major projects by HRC, like that was done for Galooey. They're in the process of having that taken care of as well.
And then I just had a couple to go over. Mr. Erie, a little update on St. Margaret's?
Yes, it's, I want to keep this brief, but it's slightly complicated. There's 2 banks involved that have mortgage interests on that property. Wells Fargo, they have been sued by us for a blight action. They have not answered, so we're filing a motion to default them. The other bank is Comerica. They have a smaller interest, and they do have an attorney that responded, but we're anticipating that they are going to likely give up their interest in the property. If the estate, the actual owner of the property, the estate of the deceased is indicating that they are actually probably going to abandon the property, which will mean that if either of these banks don't get their act together with respect to foreclosing on their mortgage, the city may possibly become the owner of the property, which would then give us the ability to do what we want with it, quite frankly, if we end up owning it, which means to demolish the property. But we're working with Comerica, not with Wells Fargo, because they just haven't responded to us at this point, but that's where we are.
And so just to, I mean, it's on the agenda, it's at the top of the agenda, we're working to
It is.
resolve the issue.
There's another court appearance this month on it, I think in a week or two.
Question on that?
Yes.
So in terms of if the estate wants to abandon the property and they file that with probate?
Yes.
Is the probate then assigns it to the city? Or is it assign it to the creditors and we're still going after the creditors?
We will ask the probate court to give the banks a limited period of time to pursue their interest, and if they don't, we will ask the court to assign the property to the city.
Okay, thank you.
The next one is, I know Mr. Ray's worked with, or had meetings with Macomb County Road Commission regarding Harper and some of the repairs between 8 and 10 Mile.
We met twice over the last 2 weeks. Originally thought it'd be an earlier summer project, but it'll probably be after Labor Day based on the state's tip schedule. So the county will be out there measuring and getting that ready for bidding, and we'll bring that back before council once we have final dates.
And as, I know it's still winter time, but the last storm created a lot of closure on Jefferson Avenue, and I think we're already starting to prepare and truthfully concerned that we will see quite a bit of closure this year on Jefferson, at Lance, and at 13 Mile Road, and Masonic. So, again, I know it's February, but we're already preparing to that and kind of telling the residents that there's going to be a number of those issues on Jefferson. So when you're traveling there, we also are making sure that we have the sand piles over at Memorial Park and the parking lot over at Civic and back here. You can get the sandbags. There's individuals already sandbagging, especially along Jefferson and the waterfront property. You can get sandbags for free over at DPW, and then after hours you can get them at Civic. So again, we want to have that available to residents now, and because of the issues that we see coming in front of us. And then we did, Liz Cotto, the city planner, received a note on Tuesday, the 28th of January, and the question regarding Kroger Kmart. At this point, the construction permits, including the building permit, are ready to be pulled, and Kroger selected a general contractor to complete the construction. Kroger, however, was going to wait till March to break ground to avoid any bad weather, which is not an issue. So we have are in now contact with the individuals, and Kroger does plan to build. They can plan to, again, as I said, work in March. So we shall see. I think finally it's taken a little while. I know, but I think we're just about there to see the demolition of Kmart and a new Super Kroger on 9 Mile Road. We actually had the Panera Bread on this agenda, and I think due to the, was it the drive-through, Chris? I think they were doing a little change there, so that'll come back in March when the Panera Bread comes. And although I think it's a little slow at the gas station, I think they build and then they go away. I'm not sure why they do that, but.
They're waiting on the steel to come in so they can finish the masonry.
Okay. So a lot will be happening there, but we are excited that Kroger's is coming, and we should see work in March. And yeah, do the lead pipe. I think that's it. So with that, we will move to comments by individual councils. Mr. Karen.
Oh, thank you. Actually, just one item tonight. Wanted to congratulate Jason Miller, who's no relation to any other Miller that holds elective office in Macomb County. But Jason Miller, he has been appointed to fill a seat on the South Lake School Board. He was sworn in last Monday. I've known Jason for the last few years, and his dedication to South Lake, I know he has 2 young boys, both in Elmwood, and actually he's been here. The scout troop we had here last year, that was the huge troop from Elmwood.
Yes.
He's one of the leaders of that. Has been very active, and when they needed to find a bigger house, as they had 2 growing boys, he made sure he stayed within South Lake, and that because he was dedicated to the South Lake School District. So congratulations, Jason. Thank you for stepping up and serving in the South Lake School Board through the November election, and he says he still needs to decide if he goes beyond that, but hopefully he does. So that's it.
Fantastic, thank you. Mr. Frederick.
Thanks, Mayor. And I'll congratulate Jason as well. A lot of good things are happening down there, and he's a big part of it, especially over at Elmwood with the Scouts. Let's talk a little bit about the library first. The Youth Services Department of the library invites children of all ages to come to the Valentine's Day craft to make a special craft for their Valentine. Drop-in craft takes place on Wednesday, Feb. 12, between 5:30 and 8 p.m. Materials and instruction will be provided. Adults must accompany young children to help with scissors and glue. Registration is not required. Children ages 1 to 3 are invited to get their groove on during our toddler dance party. This 30-minute program will include a short story followed by a lot of dancing. Join us at 10 a.m. on Saturday, February 15th. Again, no registration required. And then Friends of the Library are holding their monthly book discussion on Wednesday, Feb. 12 at 1 p.m. in the library. The book is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. Everyone is welcome to this discussion. The Friends of the Library are also holding a bargain book sale on Wednesday, Feb. 12. This is really awesome for those of you who like paperbacks and hardcovers. All bargains and children's books will be on sale for $1 each. And then, Becky, if you'll help me out there. At 12 o'clock on Saturday, February 22nd, and Saturday, March 21st, the museum will be hosting a Pizanki Easter egg decorating program. I had no idea what Pizanki Easter eggs were, but maybe some of you did. But what it is, it's eggs that they put different layers of color on them, and then they put wax on it, and then at some point the wax comes off, and that's what it looks like, which we have up here on the screen. So anyway, they're going to be hosting this decorating program. There's no charge for this program. However, pre-registration is necessary for those who would like to decorate their own egg. People who only want to watch the demonstration do not need to register. Egg decorating will begin at noon, and the program will be over by 4. Registration is for St. Clair Shores residents aged 7 years and older. To register, contact the library at 586-771-9020. Easter eggs. I'm sure the entire fire department will be applying for that to get over there. So I also wanted to thank Chris Reyes and Brian Badcock. We had a little question today about Manton Street. I didn't even know where that was, but Manton is, if you go to the Lakeshore football field and off of Hoffman and turn left, there is a street there. It's a little bit elevated, but it's got some problems, and Chris, thanks for taking care of that today, so I appreciate that. Now, in addition to that, I sit on the Communications Commission here in the Shores, and to increase the number of residents who are using our Citizens Alert service on the city website as notification of emergencies and things like snow and all the other stuff that we try to get the word out, we've developed a new PSA called Citizens Alert. This Citizens Alert will run on SCS TV as well as Vimeo, YouTube, our Facebook page, our website, and hey, if we have Twitter now, we have to add the city manager.
It was already tweeted out.
There you go. So
tweet it?
Yes.
All right.
Well, actually, Natalie tweeted it.
Okay, so you didn't tweet it. I mean, come on.
I was there. I was there when it was being
All right,
tweeted.
Natalie did. Keep going.
Get used to that.
All right. So Becky, if you'll play it real quick, and we'll give the residents at home a chance to see it.
Free notification system that alerts you to emergencies or notifications that you choose. Citizen Alert is a free service that you can sign up for that uses text messaging or email to alert you to an impending emergency or notifications from selected categories. Available only at the City of St. Clair Shores website. All you need to do is visit www.scsmi.net, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and click on Citizen Alerts. Type your email in to register and click Sign In. Next, click the email or cell phone icons next to the list you want to subscribe to or unsubscribe, and you're done. The City of St. Clair Shores Citizen Alert System is a great tool that you can rely on to deliver valuable information when you want it.
All right, so kudos to our communications.
Voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was going to say our own Steve Folkrod was our voiceover for that. But, you know, in that last snow emergency, we had, 250-plus tickets that went out, so maybe that'll help some of the residents of knowing whether to be on the street or not on the street. All they got to do is subscribe, and then that's another way to get that information. So thanks for indulging us. Mayor, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Vitale.
Yeah, I actually had a question that came to mind when you were making the announcement about Kroger. And we have the fire chief in the room as well.
Yes.
Will there be an opportunity to train? Is the fire department interested?
Yes, they
in
are.
training?
And they've been notified, and they're working with Kroger. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was, well, no, I'll skip that one. The only other thing I guess I would mention is, you know, I normally probably wouldn't even bother to address this, but I'm sure residents that were watching are curious.
About your shoulder?
I didn't do anything glamorous, like John with maybe a ski injury or anything fun like that. It's just a planned shoulder surgery, and it's completed and recovering nicely. I'm still in a sling, but.
I've got no ski injury here, so.
You know,
Oh, you're talking
not
about.
this year.
Not yet. Not yet.
You would knock on some wood, John? But some residents have, who knew about this, have wished me well, and thank you for the wishes, the kind wishes, and I should be out of this sling by the next meeting.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Vitale. Mr. Asha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You asked me to look at the guard shack at Blossom Heath this week. I did go take a look at it. I got a commitment from the bricklayers, Local 2, so when you're ready, we can take care of it.
I asked Mr. Asha to look at it. We have Mr. Reyes and I and Mr. Bowman see that we have some unused bricks there from the whole project. And actually, the guard shack at Blossom Heath is kind of a little bit deteriorating, so the thought was maybe we could use some of those bricks and brick in the guard shack. I actually called Mr. Asha to see if he could maybe provide the labor, because he has in the past, specifically with Memorial Park. And that whole bathroom over here, which is on the south side of the park, the new one. And so we're trying to coordinate that and seeing how many bricks and that. And again, we appreciate that labor. I think that would really tie in, especially the fact that we got these bricks already there, and it would tie the whole thing together. So we're trying to get that. So that's how that came up.
Yeah, so anyway, Chris, I need 1.25 yards of sand and 20 bags of mortar. That'll do it. He asked me to measure it out.
Okay, great.
And I could reach the ceiling. It wasn't that high.
It would need it. It's
But it is looking pretty shabby.
It does.
over there, so
It does.
it's a
And
nice
so
upgrade.
it would be a very nice one. Appreciate that.
Well, that's about all I have.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. CP, I thought you were retired.
No, we can't let him retire.
No, thank you for your continuing commitment for the city and work on our behalf.
What else would I do? Go on a boat?
That doesn't sound too bad, actually, Pete.
Okay, just one resident issue I have. It popped up actually on my way to the meeting today, so I said I would look into it. Resident issue, water bills came out, North End. The last 2 water bills for this particular resident were estimated. Each time he received it, he called, talked with the city. The city said, oh, we're having equipment issues on our end, so that's why they're estimated. The resident went, did the reading himself over the phone, gave it to the numbers to the person on the other end of the phone, got the bill adjusted. This happened twice. Today, or, when the bills came, I guess they came in the mailbox today, he gets this bill, it's still estimated. So this is his 3rd estimated bill. It's been over 270 days, 3 bills, so that's 75% of the year. We haven't had a city-generated auto read from his, or actual read from his meter. And when he talked to the people of the city, the last 2 times, they said, oh, it's not you, it's us, basically. But it's 270 days without an actual read. And he's wondering, when is the acceptable time, and I'm wondering this too, when's the acceptable time frame for the city to realize there's a problem, which they were told from him, and they know that they're generating estimated bills, to go to those homes and switch out the equipment. But they say it might be the city's issue, or to fix that issue so this resident can start getting actual reads. We have these new meters, we should be doing actual reads versus getting these estimated reads, which are not actual reads based upon his actual water usage. And I don't know if the issue is just coming up a lot because you get a lot of dialogue on water bills and things like that via, the residents group on Facebook and things like that, but it seems like we are issuing a lot of estimated reads lately. And for the last couple of bills, it seems like a lot of people are getting these. Can we get some figures on how many people are getting estimated reads if an unusual number of people? I know sometimes they're done because there are equipment issues, but it just seems like there are a lot of these things going on. We should probably get to the bottom of what's going on because the system is designed for actual accurate reads, not these estimated reads, which sometimes they benefit the resident, but not until they do the actual read, then it comes to bite them. And sometimes they don't. And you have the resident who, yes, he'll get a credit then eventually, but it would be nice if we could see what's going on here.
And if you could get us that address too, and
Yep,
we'll work
absolutely.
on both those, the estimates and how many we have out
Yeah,
there,
the
and what's going
specific
on.
house,
and
but
then
the,
specific-
if
yes,
there's
both.
a general issue, we know how many we're issuing each, building. It would be nice to see if there is an issue that we can maybe get to the bottom of.
And there is, I know we've been having some tower issues that I think we got the equipment in, and it could have been installed after the reading of the last one. So.
Yeah, and that would be some nice information for council to have too, because I'm seeing these things, but trying to field them, and I don't know what's going on, and when I hear from a resident, oh yeah, I've called, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and told there are issues, which I wasn't aware of until he told me today. I'm like, well, why didn't I know there were issues, and why haven't we fixed these yet?
Sure.
Because these are this is a resident-facing thing. It would be nice to have that type of information, that yes, we're aware of this, and we're on our way to fix it, versus, 9 months, you could have a baby in that time. That's a long time for these issues to be going on, so.
All righty.
Okay.
Yes,
No one
Yeah.
get water to break.
we'll get that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Rubino.
Thank you. I guess this is for Chris and Mr. Koppler. Rear yard drain situation on Shady Lane. It's been a few months now since we've had some sort of update.
I know the inspector has reached out to them by email, asked them to respond with a phone number, so Mr. Uranga and him can meet with them out there and go over the particulars with the engineers. And as far as I know, he hasn't responded, but I'll have to verify that tomorrow, make sure.
Okay. The new gas station at 9 and Harper that was mentioned, is that wall huge? Or is it just
Yes.
me?
No, we looked at it actually last couple of weeks, Mr. Reyes, right? It's
Correct.
It's a spec, right?
The site plan, I can't remember, it was 20 or 22 feet.
22,
But
I
it
think.
was right there, and that's about where it's at.
I mean, we didn't miss anything, that's.
No.
'Cause
It looks
it's-
real small on paper, but it looks real big in life.
Humongous. So, all right, just checking, that's all I had.
Thank you.
It's almost two
Item
stories.
10, City Manager Report, Matt Koppler.
Good evening. I just had one item. As a reminder, on Thursday, February 6th, this week, at 7 PM, we're going to be having the lead service line meeting open to the public. It'll be at Blossom Heath Inn, again at 7 PM. We'll have representatives from the city, Macomb County Health, and Michigan Eagle to talk about what has been going on with the lead service lines, as well as kind of overview of what we're going to be doing going forward. We did mail out letters to all the residents that have the lead service lines to remind them, but we've also been doing some releases to let the rest of the residents know as well.
So say the date again, that's
It'll
Thursday?
be Thursday, February 6th.
This Thursday?
7 PM at Blossom Heath Inn.
Blossom Heath, okay. And the other one is the next city council meeting, remember, will be Tuesday, February 18th, due to President's Day. The city's closed, so the next council meeting again will be Tuesday, February 18th, right here at 7 o'clock. And with that, we will go to audience participation. Item 11, views, opinions expressed in audience participation of those in the individual, not necessarily having the views, opinions, mayor, city council, and administration of the city of St. Clair Shores. Someone would like to speak? Yep, come on up. We just need your name and the city you reside in, and if you could start there. And then Mr. Ray, oh, you can sign in after? And before you start, if someone else would like to speak, Pam, if you could sign in, and then you could speak, and then, sir, you could be third.
Good evening.
Good evening. Pull that mic down so we can hear you, please.
Short.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Wheaton. I reside at 29267 Jane, St. Clair Shores, Michigan, 48081.
Okay.
I'm in my third winter of having a problem with a neighbor to the west of me who trenched out his backyard.
He what?
He trenched his
Trenched.
backyard along the property line, and all our water runs down to my 12-mile sidewalk. I'm in the corner house on Jane and 12.
Okay.
And last year, I went to the city and spoke with Mr. Gale. And I understand I was just there on the 13th of this month, and I was told he wasn't there anymore. But I took pictures. I got permission from my neighbor to the south of me to go in his yard and take pictures. And I got definitive proof. It's from the very back of his yard, all the way down the property line, around a couple telephone poles, and around a pine tree that used to be there, and it runs right down the 12-mile road. And I end up with mud, stone, and water, and it freezes. I'm going on 70. I'm getting tired of breaking the ice there.
I understand.
And I've talked to Mr. Reyes about this. I sent Mr. Vitale an email.
Okay.
And
If you could give Mary your phone number, and I will have Mr. Koppler or Mr. Erie investigate and give you a call.
Okay.
How's that?
As a resident, and you said you're going to investigate, is that something that I'm entitled to? Because I know I'm going to have to go elsewhere to get that sidewalk repaired because it's all sunk. Several of them.
I guess I don't want to give you an answer right here. I think that I would ask that we contact you and have Mr. Koppler or Mr. Erie get with you and maybe look at the site, and then can give you what we should do, what we can do, or how we can help.
Okay.
That's the best I think I can do at this moment.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
So sign in there, and then give the city clerk your number, and we will get with you, tomorrow or Wednesday. Thank you.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Lindsay Thayer. I am a resident of St. Clair Shores for probably about 13 years now. And so for the past probably few weeks, maybe several months, I've read the comments on Facebook about the coyote sightings. Sorry, I'm fighting cold. And I've taken it all into account. Consideration, I've been careful of things. I have 3 small children, and we just got a puppy for Christmas. And on Saturday morning, I don't know if you want me to show it here, if I can show you up there.
Well, you just bring it to us.
Yeah, sure. This is the coyote walking out my driveway. So I'm just.
Go back to the microphone
Yes,
so
yeah.
people can hear you. Yeah.
So just from a safety standpoint, if you read the comments on Facebook, for the past few weeks, there have been sightings by bus stops, by schools. This coyote was up and down my driveway. My youngest is 4 years old. It's not safe. I back up, I live on Raymond Street, so my back is Taylor Schools, the yard. But this coyote was actually coming up my driveway, not even from the field. So I've done everything that I can do to take precautions. I've contacted, trapping companies, and they've asked me myself why I'm doing this, and they said, you need to go to your city to see. It's not safe.
What time of day was this?
That was at 7 o'clock in the morning. I hate to say this, but I'm scared.
Sure, I understand. Matt, what about animal control trying to I guess, in essence?
So I've contacted animal control, and they've told me there's nothing they can do because it's wildlife. They sent me to the DNR. The DNR told me that there's nothing that they can do because of the overabundance of coyotes. There's nothing that they're doing. They did tell me that I could protect myself, or my husband could. But I've also been told there's no way in heck that my husband's going to be able to shoot it. The traps are very difficult, I guess. They're not real safe because they have to go under the ground to get, you can't, I guess, cage one. I've learned a lot. I've done research because honestly, I'm scared.
Sure.
But I guess they don't like to use these traps in in neighborhoods because they go under the ground and they have to get their paw in them. And then they just have to quickly get out to get them. So one company did tell me they could try to set up a large trap. It would be close to $700. And he's the one that told me, you know, maybe you need to go to your city.
Yeah.
The other concern is, and I'm sorry, if you do research, I've been crazy about this, like literally, and I probably sound like my husband thinks I'm crazy, but at the same time, I'm scared. It's mating season for them right now, which is why you would see them more. So my concern is, you know, in how many weeks or months from now, when they produce more, you know, their sightings, I have listed, if you've read that St. Clair Shores page, they're everywhere from Avalon to Elizabeth, Shady Lane, Edgewood, St. Joan. This was at 13 and Harper.
Mr. Koppler?
Yeah, so I will speak with the chief of police tomorrow morning about this, and we'll reach out to animal control to see what can be done.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We definitely understand the fear of the whole thing.
Can we get your phone number as well?
Yeah, sure. Thanks again.
Okay. Jamie, did you want to say something? Oh, let's sign in, Jamie. Yes, sir.
Jeff Lorenz, 29809 Maple Grove. I'm here about the property next door to me, 29801 Maple Grove. It's an abandoned house. It's been abandoned for 4 to 5 years. I've got somebody that wants to buy it, but nobody can give me an answer on who owns it.
Okay.
And I've come down here 2 or 3 times to the code enforcement. All they do is give me a piece of paper.
Okay. Can you help on that, Mr. Erie?
We'll take a look at it, yeah.
If you could get
code enforcement too, probably.
If you could give your number too to the city clerk, and we'll
have the number here, but
we need a phone number for Mr.
Right.
For the gentleman, so we get back with him. And see if we can assist him with that. Okay.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Jamie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to tell you the spaghetti whistle was successful, and I just wanted to say the roof at the boost post is leaking so bad, and they need to do something about that. I mean, there was buckets all over the place in the big hog, and my main concern is all my equipment. I went there the next day to take my stuff down. I had to wipe down every cord of mine, and my main concern, that roof at the boost post needs to be and they told me they went there and they patched it, and it's not helping. So I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Mr. Ribello?
Dave Ribello, City of St. Clair Shores, Mason Street. We're ready to start going up. I'm here to represent the St. Clair Shores Memorial Day Parade. And we're here to start throttling up a little bit, okay? This stuff comes pretty quick. So I'm out here trying to find, right now, people with convertibles that want to participate in the parade, okay? Because it seems We sometimes fall short and have to switch around a lot of people. So anyone out there listening, we'd love to have your convertible for a couple of hours on Sunday, May 24th. The schools, we'd like the schools to get involved with floats. We want people to build floats. We try to encourage people to build floats, okay? It doesn't have to be from your special groups, but it can be from individuals. We've had individual residents build floats. And of course, we'd like them to be military-themed floats. Okay, so again, it's never too soon to start looking for this stuff. It comes up pretty quick. Floats, convertibles, we'd love to have the schools volunteer. You know, maybe we could do something with South Lake, Lakeview, Lakeshore, North Lake, all get involved with this type of stuff. And we also have, certificates and prizes and things like that. Maybe we're looking at giving a cash prize for some of the people that, you know, for the winners and so forth. Try to entice it more. But these are some of the things that we're looking for. We're also looking for volunteers. They don't have to come to all of our meetings, but maybe the few that come before the parade, so we can sort of catch everybody up. Volunteers to help move our St. Clair Shores Parade down the street. And we have a wonderful all-volunteer parade. So again, we're trying to go with the throttle up right now. Just a few more months. I mean, it's summer almost. It's 55 degrees outside today. So sort of getting people in the mood. Okay?
It was warm. I don't know if it was 55, but it was a very nice day. It made you think of spring. So
I'm not
that's good.
sure. Well, I thought it was 55 degrees.
All right.
It seemed like it anyways.
It
Walking
did.
around without a coat. So anybody out there who wants to get involved, sometimes people don't know how to get involved. We're a perfect organization, a committee to get you involved. My telephone number is 586-489-8117. Or you can simply, if you know people that are on our parade committee, I know Cheryl Ferdos might be out here somewhere, contact her if you see her by name. You can also contact me at my Dave Rubello, R-U-B-E-L-L-O @netscape.net. So, and we all thank everyone. You guys always help and participate in some way or another.
Well, we appreciate, I mean, it's good to see that the parade's coming. That means spring's coming. So
Yeah.
we're glad to
Right around the
hear it.
corner.
Yep, and thanks for all your effort.
I wanted to add one other thing. I'm also the chairman of the St. Clair Shores Activities Committee, and people have been asking and contacting me on Facebook. The music lineup is coming soon.
Yep.
Okay. It's in the process of being picked right now. We've used any suggestions that you had. People have emailed into the our Facebook page, contacted me directly. We've gotten that all moved along toward the persons that actually are picking the groups. So we've heard you, your names and your groups have all been submitted, so we're just waiting for the final. We should have that sometime in February.
And as you say that, we got more groups than we have weeks. The amount of bands that want to be at, as you know, that want to be at Veterans Memorial Park are, I don't know, the last report I saw, Dave, might have been 30 or 40, and we only have 10 weeks.
You got it.
So it's a desire now to be there on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock at the park.
Okay, again, the parade, this is a great way to get involved and help, because sometimes people are looking for stuff and they just don't know how to do it. And we're a great group to you know, we'll take your help.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good evening. We'll move back to Mayor's comments, and just two comments, or one comment, and then something about the new committees that we're going to put in place. I attended the 2020 annual meeting for the St. Clair Shores Waterfront Environmental Committee. That was Thursday, January 23rd. And I would just like to commend the Waterfront Environmental Committee. They do a lot for St. Clair Shores. They do a lot for the lake, and I appreciate all the work they do. You know, it's more than the annual nautical coast cleanup that they do. They do storm drain stenciling. They work on social media, rain barrel initiative, fishing line disposal and recycling, that they have those containers out there to make sure that that fishing line stays out of the lake. They're also working on shrink wrapping boats and recycling that. And actually, as Mr. Rebella was just here, he was the lead getting the kiosks, the fish maps, and the lake maps that are now at Veterans Memorial and Blossom Heath over there on the pier. So I can't say enough to thank them. And another one, which is done by Erin Stahl, is the I-94 Expressway entrance exit ramp cleanup that she spearheads. They do a lot. It's a great committee, and I want to just thank them for all their effort throughout the year. When they put the meeting together and you see it all, you really appreciate what they do. Again, we got a lot of, we talk about all the time, but it's the truth. We got great committees here, and this is another great one. So we appreciate what they do for St. Clair Shores and really for Lake St. Clair, which benefits the entire county and for more than the county, because people from all over use Lake St. Clair and, quite frankly, our marinas. They spend weekends there from Royal Oak and Birmingham, and they spend their time on their boat, and then they enjoy Lake St. Clair. So they're all over the Tri-County area use St. Clair Shores and Lake St. Clair. So thank them. Last, we've had some committees that we have to do. These are kind of ad hoc committees. They're usually just with a special purpose. They meet for a short period of time because we have a projects going on. So we've got a couple of them here that I want to assign. I think I've talked to most people regarding it. And I just want to highlight that again. We already have the playground committee already. We've had a playground put in at Gafke. I know they're working more, so that one's already assigned, but I just wanted to highlight that, and that was Councilman Frederick and Ms. Rusi. We have coming up here will be the garbage one. That'll start sometime, I don't know when we'll put the bids out, but that'll be probably maybe a summertime and fall one where that committee evaluates as it did 8 years ago or 7 years ago, evaluated those bids when they came in. And I'd like to have Mr. Asha on there and Mr. Karen and myself. We have the sign committee, so that's a new one. We have a sign committee that we're going to talk about that actually Mr. Koppler wanted to put together. I thought Mr. Frederick could go on there since he's part of the sign committee, and Ms. Rusi. And then we have a residential design one that's actually kind of been really spearheaded by Mr. Vitale. So put Mr. Vitale on there, Mr. Karen, and Mr. Rubino. So those are the ones that some of them will start to meet a little sooner. At least sign, residential design. The garbage will come later this year, and the playground hopefully is working now and may eventually just come to an end at the end of the year, possibly, if we get all those different designs together. But so those are the ones. I appreciate everyone's time to do those. They're short, but they're important. These are important issues, and we need to drive them forward. And I think they work very well in the past and been effective in coming up with plans, and then they bring them back to City Council, and it usually works out pretty well. So I appreciate everybody's help in doing that, because I know your time is valuable. And with that, we will go to a closed session permitted by state statute 15.268, Section 8C. We'll need a roll call vote.
Move to go into closed session.
We'll need that by Mr. Karen, supported by Mr. Frederick, and we'll need a roll call vote.
Councilman Karen?
Aye.
Councilman Frederick?
Aye.
Councilman Rubino?
Aye.
Councilmember Rusi?
Aye.
Councilmember Vitale?
Aye.
Councilmember Asha?
Aye.
Mayor Walby?
Aye. Good night.